Welcome back to another episode of Light the Fuse, the only and therefore greatest podcast devoted entirely to the Mission Impossible franchise. This is Drew Taylor, once again joined by Charles Hood.
Hello.
And this week we're doing something a little bit different. Charles, do you want to explain what our thesis is this week?
We're just ranking all things Mission Impossible. Obviously, we'll end with our movie rankings of the 6 movies, but we're going to rank every little category, a lot of things that we've been discussing on this show, and what our favorites are for each of those categories. That's
great. Well, what category do you want to start off with?
That's a great question. Do you want to say Ethan's specialty skill?
Sure.
I don't know if you have a favorite you want to start with. I can tell you things that were in consideration for me.
Yeah, tell me what was leading up to your number one.
Okay, so Ethan's rock climbing is obviously an important skill that played out not too importantly in 2.
Right.
But it was fun in 2, and then it was very important at the end of Fallout. So I did consider the rock climbing. I love his sleight of hand abilities that are displayed in the first movie, where he's using the disc and he's kind of hiding it from Jean Reno. I love that stuff because that's also a callback to Roland Hand in the original series, and he was a magician and he could do sleight of hand stuff. So I loved that. That was something I considered, but it wasn't really that important to the plot, really. It was just kind of fun. The drawing skills we've talked about a lot in both Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation. So, his elite drawing skills where he can draw a face on his hand, which is pretty fun. But I have to say that my favorite was the lip reading that's revealed in 3.
Yes.
I just think that is so cool that Ethan is able to read lips, and that they would, in order for the audience to get it, they would subtitle it. I thought that was so cool. And then it came back in Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
I loved that.
I would agree with that. The drawing thing was almost my number one, but yeah. Lip reading, the fact that it came back in Ghost Protocol, the cool Russian to English lip reading that he was doing where the subtitles changed in Ghost Protocol. It's great.
That's interesting. I really thought you'd go with drawing skills because of your love of animation.
I do love that. But, it was neck and neck. But I will say that I think that the lip reading was cool. I am amazed that they keep bringing the drawing back. I was shocked that it wasn't in Fallout.
Also, we didn't bring up Ethan's ability to come back from the dead.
Yes, he's died.
He's died at the end of 3 and in the middle of Rogue Nation.
At least twice.
He's been dead for about 5 minutes of his life. We figured out the timing of that.
Yeah. So he's
over 3 minutes in the 3rd movie.
Do you think this means that he cannot die?
That's an interesting skill to consider. Is he immortal?
Yeah.
Is he like the Highlander?
He could be the Highlander, yeah.
Maybe only by chopping his head off you can kill him. All right, let's talk about another category.
Okay. What do you want to do?
How about Cruise outfit? What's your favorite Tom Cruise outfit in the series?
You know what? I'm very partial to his little kind of mini jean jacket in this one, in the newest one in Fallout. It's kind of almost like a crop top black denim jacket. But I think I like his silver suit in the Burj sequence in Rogue Nation the best.
Okay, yeah. And he's got a similar silver suit in the opening of Rogue Nation, which was supposed to be a nod to Roger Thornhill, Cary Grant's suit.
That's right.
In North by Northwest.
That's right. Did I say Rogue Nation and not Ghost Protocol? No. No.
You said Ghost Protocol. Okay. But what I'm wondering is, are they the same suit? Because it's pretty similar. When I was considering this category this week, I was thinking about that.
Yeah, I think the Ghost Protocol one is a little more silvery than gray.
Yeah, both of those were in consideration for me. The leather jacket in 1 with the sweater underneath it.
Oh, God.
Pretty into that as well.
Yeah, the crew neck sweater. Yeah.
Yeah. I was pretty into that, actually. Maybe you might have been making fun of it, but I was actually legitimately into it. But I think my number one might be the Dubai climbing gear.
Okay, so you like the actual,
I like with the goggles and the gloves, the action figure that you have.
Yeah.
Should we move on to best dress?
Yes. I mean, we already outlined the standouts of the series, which is Maggie Q. Maggie Q, Paula Patton, and Rebecca Ferguson are all wearing evening gowns with a large slit up the leg.
Yes, Maggie Q in the Vatican sequence, I believe, is a yellow dress, maybe?
Yeah.
And then Paula Patton in Ghost Protocol is a green one, I think.
In the India sequence.
Yes, and Rebecca Ferguson in the opera sequence has a great one. And then Vanessa Kirby has a few good ones in Fallout.
So where do you fall on this?
I love Paula Patton. I think she's so great. That one is, I think, my favorite.
She also gets to kick ass in that dress, doesn't she? Like, she strangles what's his name in it and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's hard to beat the image of Rebecca Ferguson in the opera putting the gun on her knee.
Yeah.
So that one's tough. I think I'm just gonna go with Paula Patton though.
Well, I'm gonna say that I think I really liked Vanessa Kirby's outfit in this new one. I love that she had a knife on her garter belt and
Oh yeah,
kind of
that
a
was great.
two-piece. But she has a lot of great stuff. I love her. I love that she always has a spider brooch on in every scene. Have you noticed that?
Oh no,
There's an actual
that's so cool.
Black Widow. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I gotta look for that next time I see it. I've seen it.
Yeah, look for that.
I've seen the movie 4 times now, so on my 5th viewing.
Yeah. Keep an eye out for that.
Should we talk about cinematography?
Yeah. I'm very curious to hear what your thoughts are on this one.
Yeah, this is hard.
Yeah.
This is really hard because I love Robert Elswit. He's one of my favorite cinematographers, and he shot both Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation. And I really admire Rob Hardy's work in the new one, in Fallout. But, there's just something about the first movie and the lighting and the anamorphic lenses and the crazy Dutch angles and the zoom lenses. I feel like people have not really been zooming as much in the later movies. And I know zooms can kind of feel out of place if they're not done. If not out of place, sorry, they can feel old-fashioned if they're not done right. And I happen to love that look of zooms, especially when they're done right, and they're done so well in the first movie. So I think I'm going to go with De Palma in the first movie. And is it Burham? How do you pronounce his name?
Stephen Burham. Yeah.
I think that's my number one.
I respect that. I mean, I think they've all had great cinematographers. Dan Mandel did
2 and 3 as well.
Third one, right?
Yeah, I know you love Dan Mandel.
I think Oliver Wood did too.
I don't think it was Oliver Wood. It was another it was another Tony Scott guy.
Oh, it was Jeffrey Kimball.
Jeffrey Kimball, right. But what was your favorite?
I think I'm going to go with Elswit for Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, okay.
I just think I love the first one. I love it to death. There's something just very effervescent about 4. I love the transitions. I love the way Bird moves the camera. The use of IMAX in that one, I think, is like such an amazing achievement and definitely something that factored into my voting. And yeah, I mean, I always just think back to the first time I saw it, and I just thought it was one of the most beautiful looking movies I'd ever seen.
I respect that. I respect that a lot. I think Elswit kind of knocked himself out of contention because there were little things in Rogue Nation for me that I love so much. I love the way the skin tones looked. I love how warm everything looks, and the motorcycle chase, the way that sequence looks, that made it hard for me to pick between Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol, and that's why I finally just ended up landing on the first movie.
Right. But I think Rob Hardy, some of the greatest shots are in this new movie. The one are in the kind of dream sequence of the heist. There's that really great long shot where they're pulling up to the bad guys' kind of chateau with the White Widow right after the whole club sequence. And there's that super long, it's almost like the shot from the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo trailer that wasn't in the movie, where it goes through the gate up to the car as they're getting out. There's just so many great little shots. There's also a great shot at the beginning where they lose the plutonium, where it goes from the car to Cruz to,
It goes from the plutonium to the car to his route out and then to Cruz's face, because it's showing Cruz's point of view of, oh, I could leave right now,
right,
with the plutonium, and then it's him deciding not to go.
Yeah,
I love those moments where they. And I think, like you said, Brad Bird does a really good job of this, too, in Ghost Protocol. It's telling the story with the camera.
Yeah.
Rather than cut. It's in a single shot telling the story, and I love that kind of filmmaking.
Yeah, we always talk about shots that, incorporate other shots within it. Like, it's a POV shot, it's a close-up, and it's, establishing geography in one shot.
Right.
Yeah, but obviously the first one is amazing, and to some degree set the visual tempo for the rest of the series, even though other directors put their stamp on it.
Yeah, they're pretty much all anamorphic. I think they are all anamorphic, and that first movie is that way, and I think, it kind of did set the tone for all of them. But and I also wanted to agree with you too about Rob Hardy and what he did with Fallout, because the lighting in Fallout is so striking, because he doesn't do any fill lights, so it's so dark on the dark side of people's faces, and I think it's really striking and great.
Yeah, and he does some great transitions in that too. And I also love how they kind of cut on the strobe light in the dance hall in the dance club.
Yeah,
where it'll cut as the light changes. It's pretty amazing. There's some pretty amazing lighting things in that movie. To say nothing of the IMAX in this new one too. I mean that can't be
the
sort
IMAX
of
helicopter stuff.
Yeah, and the Halo jump and
yeah. This is like the toughest category to choose. I think.
For sure. Yeah.
And speaking of tough categories, how about music?
Ugh. Well, I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me it's not too tough because Elfman is one of my favorites, and the first movie, the way he scored it is just the greatest thing ever. But I will say that Giacchino's score for Ghost Protocol was in contention, and Lauren Balfe's score for Fallout, and also Joe Kramer's score for Rogue Nation, all fantastic.
Right.
They're all great. I mean, and even, some of Giacchino's work for 3 is really good, and some of the stuff that Zimmer does in 2 is really good. So it's hard. But yeah, for me, I guess it's kind of easy. I would go with Elfman.
Yeah, I think that's one of his most underrated scores and one of his best scores, and also set the tempo for the movie and movies in terms of using the plot so extensively as well as the theme, but also creating all these other amazing themes and moments. And I mean, it's just a great score all around.
Yes, and if you haven't listened to our bonus episode where we interviewed Mo Shafiq of Mondo, he supervised the release of the record of Mission Impossible Elfman score. So you should check out that episode where we talked to Mo about all things Elfman and music in Mission Impossible, and it's a fun interview to listen to.
Yeah. So what's your next big category, Charles?
This one might be easier. Climax.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about how the climaxes in these movies are never quite as epic as the midpoint set piece, and for me, finally somebody did it. McQuarrie blew us all away with the climax of Fallout. So for me, I would say Fallout. And the first one, the train sequence is fantastic too. And I considered it for a second, and I even considered the crazy car rodeo in Ghost Protocol, which I, upon revisiting, really enjoyed. But I think Fallout all the way for me.
Yeah, it's the first of the movies to crescendo in a way that is befitting the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
It's not something smaller. It doesn't necessarily change, things drastically. It's just always weird to see the movies sort of run out of gas when they should have a big finish. And this one definitely did. I think you're right about 4 and 1 also having really great climaxes. And also 2 to a degree with the motorcycle sort of showdown and all of that.
That is true. We talk all about how all the movies don't have a big climax, but 2 really does have a pretty big climax.
It's weird because it's big things will be happening to the characters, like someone will launch a bomb or whatever, but it's visually it's never quite as spectacular as what's happened before.
Right.
And I think that finally with the IMAX helicopter chase, him falling down, all that, it's unbelievable. And you find yourself catching your breath at the end of the movie. And I think that's one of the reasons why that last line works so well in Fallout, is because you feel the same way. You've just been through the most exciting 2.5 hours of your life, and you finally get to laugh, and then it's over. So.
And just as a brief aside, my dad actually went and saw Fallout.
Oh my God. Oh, do you have his text messages?
He actually called me afterwards.
Oh, okay.
He went with my mom. They went to the IMAX at Lincoln Square, at the AMC in New York City. And he said that was one of the best adventure movies I've ever seen. He's like, it must be the best movie in the series. I can't even remember the last time I saw an adventure movie that... He kept calling it an adventure movie, which I thought was fun. But he loved it. He was blown away. Yeah, it was cool.
Did you feel connected to him a little bit more? Did you feel closer?
For that brief moment, yes.
That's great. Did he say he wanted to rewatch the other ones or anything?
He rewatched Rogue Nation beforehand, and that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the extent of the conversation.
How long do you think it was total?
I'd say 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes.
And when was the last time you talked to him for that long?
It'd been a little while, I guess. Maybe a month or two, a couple months.
Okay.
Yeah, not
good.
too bad.
I just want you to feel, loved. If you love Charles, please write him and tell him that you love him.
Is this a plea to my dad? He actually did ask about the podcast. Have I brought that up here?
No.
He asked about it and was like, he asked about it and was like, I heard you're doing that. How do I listen to it?
And you were like, don't worry about it.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, let's get back on track here.
Okay.
Location. This was a category idea that you had that I thought was really great. What is the best location in the series?
They've had a lot of great locations, a lot of them overseas, a lot of them in Asia and Europe. But, I mean, for me, Dubai is the greatest location. Everything about it, like them driving in and missing the camels, to obviously the Burj sequence, to the sandstorm chase. I just think the whole thing is amazing, and I don't think there really is another. I mean, Langley is great, obviously, but that's all sort of set work. The fact that they utilize Dubai in such an amazing way, that makes it an easy number one for me. But I don't know how you feel.
Well, this is an interesting category. It was between three of them, and I did think about Dubai. I also thought about Prague in the first movie, especially because it was wasn't it the first Hollywood movie to shoot there or something like that?
Yeah,
At
I
least
think
in
so.
Decades or something.
Yeah.
So Prague, and just the feeling of Prague, the fog and the way they lit up that whole area was just so beautiful in the first
cobblestone
movie.
And
I just really, if you feel that, and it's so unique to see that in a movie. I think I kind of feel like maybe this is the answer, is London, because it springs up so often in the series.
Right.
It's in the first movie. It's a really important part of the first movie. It's in Rogue Nation for the climax, and it comes up again for the foot chase in Fallout. So I feel like I kind of wanted to pick London just because it's such a recurring location that we've really explored a lot throughout the whole series.
I like that. I like that kind of big picture approach.
Yeah.
I think that we know that recently the reason that they've been in London a lot is because of tax incentives and soundstage space.
Right, but don't forget the first movie where, the whole
No,
sequence
I mean, that's great,
with Phelps in the train station. The whole revelation there is amazing. It's one of my favorite sequences.
And also landing near the bridge and the helicopter, getting the...
Yeah, they made that fake helipad right next to the bridge.
Yeah.
In the first movie. That's not really a helipad there, and they landed it there. So I just think it's cool how we've, explored London so much throughout the whole series.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love that choice. And I would say that, like, Paris in this new one, too, is so well used. Because it's actually Paris, too. Like, the Kashmir sequence at the end is great, but that was shot in Norway and New Zealand. So it's not like the tourism board for Kashmir is going to be trumpeting that sequence. But Paris is really Paris, and they really filmed in front of the Arc de Triomphe and all that stuff. Like, it's just so incredible.
Next, we've got chase sequence, which is not the same as running sequence.
No.
A little different, so just keep that in mind. What are your thoughts on chases and throughout the series?
Well, we've had a lot. We talked. He's been on a motorcycle a lot. Number 2 and Rogue Nation. Is there a chase in the third one? I guess not.
There's just a running sequence. Well, he's being chased through the IMF headquarters.
That's right. That's also running centric.
I don't know if there's another chase really that I can think of, at least.
I mean, for my money, I really like the sandstorm chase from the fourth one. I just think it's so dynamic. It has so many elements. I love how it goes from a foot chase to a car chase.
And then into a BMW.
A lot of great BMW product. That should have been a category, best BMW product placement.
Okay, we can do that. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, I have a feeling that I know what your favorite is going to be.
Yeah.
And I think that your favorite piggybacks off of the Ghost Protocol chase, but I think you're gonna say Morocco in Rogue Nation.
Yeah. How did you know? That's my choice for chase. Yeah.
I'm inside your head, bro.
I didn't even have any backups. I was just like, as soon as you brought up that category, the first thing that came to mind, I was like, those motorcycles, because I was coming up with my rankings for all the other categories, and I was like, how do I not have the motorcycles in Morocco anywhere? And then as soon as you said chase, I was like, okay, yep, there it is, because the way that sequence is shot is so amazing.
It's got so many different like moving parts too.
Yeah, but I love your choice because it's true. The Dubai chase has him on foot and then him on the motorcycle, and I guess the Rogue Nation one kind of has that too, because first they're in the BMW, then they're in the motorcycle. Yeah, they always have like a little bit of
it's like a tier system
progression.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's like that too in Fallout.
Yeah,
I mean the chase seems to go on for like a half hour between him on the motorcycle, and then in the car, and then Elsa chasing him, and all of that stuff. It's amazing.
For me, I don't know if there's anything better than, at least in terms of chases, the shot that is just burned into my brain is the bad guy on the motorcycle pulling out the gun and pointing it right at the lens.
Right.
When he's riding alongside of Cruz, and I love that shot so much. And just you feel the speed of them going along that highway.
And that has one of the best shots in any of the movies, which is the bad guy's motorcycle exploding in the background.
Yeah.
Cruz looking behind him and then going forward. It's so good.
I don't know if it's in that same exact moment, but there's a part where his knee hits the ground, right?
Yeah.
When he's driving.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he does it again in Fallout too.
Yeah.
So crazy.
So coming off of that now, let's talk about BMW product placement. What's your favorite one?
I really in terms of glory shots, I love the kind of autonomous BMW glory shot in Fallout at the beginning where Benji brings the car around and it's just, there's not a speck of dirt on it. It just looks so good.
So you're talking in terms of actual as a commercial.
I'm talking about an actual product placement. Okay, I know you really like the old BMW in Fallout.
Yeah, right? The 86 BMW just has a lot of sentimental value for me since I destroyed my father's car that looked like that, and it saved my life. So, but I guess if you're talking about commercials, I don't even know if they actually even made this BMW, but the one that's in the climax of Ghost Protocol.
Oh, I love that one.
It's so cool. I
love that.
And that's if I was gonna go for a commercial for the future of BMW or something, that's what I would pick.
Yeah, I think they did make those. I see those around LA every once in a while.
Okay.
I don't think they have a GPS laser system in the dashboard like they do in the movie, but that's a great moment. That's a very Brad Bird moment. Her manipulating the dashboard with all the stuff, the map and all that stuff. So good.
We should call up BMW and see if they'll give us one of those since we have this podcast going,
Yeah, we should. I'll email them tomorrow. Remind me.
Okay. I guess maybe we should we'll go right into running sequence off of that now too.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the running sequences?
Well, there have been so many iconic ones. Obviously, in the first one, after the fish tank explosion in the restaurant in Prague, that kind of set the bar pretty high. But I really love the London chase in Fallout.
Right.
I've heard it's a minute longer than the Beijing running sequence in MI3. We're going to have to get down to the forensic detail when we have the Blu-ray.
One of the last shots of him running has so much energy to it. It's just so it gets my blood pumping. I just saw the movie again a few days ago and I was just screaming with joy when that moment came.
I also love how that shot of him, that kind of high angle shot of him running along the rooftops.
Oh yeah.
Is used in the title sequence, but it has the fire behind him.
Yeah, it's like he's getting chased by the fire.
Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah, so I had that foot chase in Fallout in consideration. I also considered the dust storm in Ghost Protocol because that's just
great.
Really unique and great. But you mentioned it, and this one is the one I'm going to go with because I think it started it all, and it also started the stunt craze because it's the aquarium in the first movie when he jumps out and the fish tanks are exploding all around him. Initially, there was a stuntman who did that shot, and De Palma said, I don't think it looks good enough. Tom, will you do it yourself? And then that started the whole stunt craze as well, in a way. So Tom had these, gallons and gallons of water that, would probably knock him out and glass breaking everywhere. And he did it. And it's slow motion, and it's the music cue from Elfman with the trumpets blaring all over. And then he just runs away as all the fish and the water comes pouring out. That one's my number one. It's so great. Even though it's short, it's still just and the build up into it too. Just that whole sequence is fantastic.
Well, that kind of brings us to the him hanging off of things. This was a very popular meme when Rogue Nation came out, photoshopping Tom Cruise on attached to various things. He's hung from the ceiling. He's hung from, boulders and cliff sides and airplanes and everything else. What are your favorite hanging moments? And what's your number one?
The plane in Rogue Nation's pretty good, but the Burj, it was just hands down for me. Dubai.
Yeah.
That's it. Him off the side of the building. No contest.
Yeah. He's hung up from a lot of things, but that's the best. Everything about that sequence is just wonderful. And he does a great job.
Yeah.
And that's when you knew he was not screwing around.
No.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I remember you sending me videos of the actual building, and you were like, this is what he's hanging off of in the new movie.
Right.
And I couldn't believe it. And I still can't believe he did it. And, you know.
Every time I watch that sequence, it's just jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
And I wish we're actually starting a campaign to get IMAX to show Ghost Protocol again in IMAX theaters.
Yeah,
we want that so badly because they've on home video they don't open up the aspect ratio. It's all just 240. It's all widescreen all the way through, so you can't really. And obviously, it's not nearly the same experience too as in an IMAX theater. So we're trying to make that happen if we can for those Mission Impossible fans out there.
Yeah, I think that the Fallout DVD is gonna have is going to switch aspect ratios.
It sounds, yeah. Someone asked McQuarrie on Twitter, and he said it will honor the theatrical aspect ratio in IMAX.
I'm ready for it.
What about cold opens?
I think you and I are
scenes that lead up to the title sequence.
I think we have the same favorites, but I think that capturing the essence of the show and everything else, I think it's hard to beat the first one. It's just such a blast.
I agree.
I think I think Fallout came close.
Yeah.
And I obviously love Ghost Protocol a lot.
Yeah,
but
those are my top 3 as well.
Yeah, but the first one, man, just everything about it just puts you into that world so succinctly.
Yeah.
And with such energy and humor, and yeah, I just love it. It really did set the. I think that set the stage for the entire series, actually, and not just the first.
I mean, it has the first mask pull.
That's right.
You know, that the great makeup artist Rob Bottin designed that mask. And that was the first one. Back
when they were still prosthetics on Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise walking around with a rubber chin.
Yeah. All right. How about kicks?
Well, what are your top few kicks?
Well, let me say that I don't think I've ever revealed the full kick count for the second movie because I did go back and I counted them. So let's just do a little rundown of how many kicks are in each movie.
Okay.
The first movie I only counted 2. The third movie, I counted 3. Ghost Protocol, I counted 8.
Okay.
Rogue Nation, I counted 6. And what was my number that I came up with for Fallout? I think it was 3 or 4. It was low.
Yeah.
And then for the second movie, it was 18.
Holy shit, really?
So, yeah. Actually, kind of fewer kicks than I expected.
That's a lot of kicks.
I think maybe all 18 kicks are in the third act of the movie. I don't think there are any kicks for the first hour and a half, and then it's just kick central.
So
or as Ben Stiller said, kicking impossible.
So what's your favorite?
You know, he's got a pretty badass kick in the second movie in slow motion in the climax.
When he does the flip, when he turns around and kicks?
Yeah, that looks like the L'Oreal commercial. It's pretty great. His hair goes flowing. I also really love the fireman suit kick in the first movie in Limelight.
Yeah, that's a great kick.
When the guy comes in and Cruz is hiding his mask, he's putting his mask away, and then he just turns and kicks the guy, and then Jean Reno's going to use the knife, and then he stops him and he says, 0 body count, which is still a character thing for Hunt going to this day, that he doesn't want to kill anybody who doesn't need to be killed or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's tough. I have to say though, Cruz might have been outkicked. I think maybe the best kick in the series might be Paula Patton kicking Léa Seydoux out the window.
That was what that's my kick pick.
Yeah,
that's my kick pick. Yeah,
yeah. It's
a wonderful
and
moment.
It's important to the story. She loses control and can't stop herself from killing this person that they needed for information.
It's a great,
and it happens, and you're like, oh, you're excited for her because you want her to get revenge, but you're also like, oh no, they need her, and it's a great moment.
That whole sequence, every part about the Dubai sequence, it's people talk about him on the building, but there's every part of that when they're in that building and the sandstorm chase after. It's just so good, and Paula Patton and Léa Seydoux. In fact, on the Empire podcast, McHugh talked about how he had a sort of a cat fight between the White Widow and Ilsa, and he cut it because it couldn't really compare to that fight between Paula Patton and Léa Seydoux in Ghost Protocol.
Yeah,
I love that. That's the best. I think you're absolutely right.
I miss her. I want Paula Patton to come back.
Come on,
bring her back for the next one. Come on, or Maggie Q. I don't know.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time.
Emmanuel Bert, where's she? She's dead.
She's dead.
Yeah. Not in real life, but in the
no,
series.
not in real life. But and Tandy Newton.
Tandy Newton,
Bring
yeah.
her back. Although that might create some romantic tensions. Maybe that's a good thing. There could be a love triangle again with Ilsa. She could come back. Who knows?
You know, that's the interesting thing about Fallout is when Ving Rhames says that he only has had 2 great loves in his life, Michelle Monaghan and Ilsa.
Yeah.
So poor Tandy. Man,
maybe she could come back and lay down the law and be like, "Oh, really, Ving?
Yeah.
Okay, huh, Luther? You think I wasn't a real romance?"
Yeah.
Or maybe,
well, that brings us to our.
Maybe Luther and those two could get together.
Yeah, I mean, well, speaking of romances, what do you think? What do you think the best romance is?
For me, this is hands down Ethan and Ilsa, and the greatest thing about their romance. This is so crazy. They never kiss once. And it still 100% works.
Yeah.
This is a romance that has gone over 2 movies now, and they have not once kissed on screen, and yet I love them together so much.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, I don't think there's anything that comes close. She's his equal.
There might be some Julia fans out there, maybe, but
yeah, there's some Julia fans, and I actually like Tandy Newton a lot in the second one. I think she's one of the best parts about that movie.
Yeah.
And that romance is developed in a really nice, interesting way. There's a lot of homoeroticism in that movie too that kind of collides with the hetero stuff.
There's some other romances in that movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that no one else has really had a romantic arc. Like we've never seen Benji go on a date or anything.
No. But you know, I just like Bruce Geller for the old show always said, he didn't want to get into their personal lives. But there were like a little bit of teases here and there of Barbara Bain and Martin Landau in the original show. Like, are they kind of interested in each other? But they never got too far into it. So maybe bring in another female team member, and maybe Benji and that team member could have some sparks.
So you're saying that Ilsa and Ethan over Maggie Q and Jonathan Rhys Myers.
Oh, was there? You think there was kind of? I felt like they were friends. Do you think there was a romantic tension?
I think there was a romantic thing. I think
when they talk,
you don't talk about your cat. Yeah, that's serious.
Yeah, that's true. If you're gonna talk about your cat, then you know that it's a serious romance.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is going on, I think, longer than maybe we expected. So I think we're gonna split this into 2 episodes, and let's just really do it right. We're gonna take a break and come back next week and get into more of our rankings of these ridiculous little categories, and then we'll end it with our rankings of the movies. So let's call it a day for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Thanks again for listening, everyone. And before we go, another mission, should you choose to accept it. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LightTheFusePod, and email us questions or comments at lightthefusepodcasts@gmail.com. If you'd like to watch the original Mission Impossible television show, all 7 seasons are currently available to stream on Amazon Prime. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.